Hello, viewers. Hello, listeners. How are we today? This is the Talking Parra podcast, and I believe it's maybe episode 6. I think it is for round 6. Today on the panel, we have a few people missing today. I think one's suspended and one's injured, or one's been dropped. So we have a new looking panel at the moment. We have Matt from M.Tatey Sports TV. We have a brother act today. We have Micka. How you going, champion?
Good, thanks, mate.
We have myself, Troy from the Parra podcast, and we have our illustrious host, Mr. Adam Martin, in a late 90s Asics Parramatta Eels jersey. How you going, Adam?
Yeah, not too bad. Hopefully I'm here a bit more this week after last week. So for those who watched it, you saw me smiling for probably, an hour of the hour and a half we recorded. So I was here. I was trying to talk. I wasn't in Europe, so... Yeah,
okay.
Much it. Yeah, you were talking about last week. What do you want to talk about the game or what?
Thought you froze again.
No, I didn't froze. That's got something in me throat. But anyway, I've been a bit sick. I've had a bit of a chest infection. I probably got it from him. So anyway, moving on. Let's talk about last week's game. Look, obviously 3 of the 4 of us were there. I haven't actually watched this game back because I don't think I could really want to watch it back. But to me, I wasn't disappointed. I'm going to say it. And the first time I actually mean it, but I was incredibly happy with the effort the boys did show. Defensively, they kept turning up. Some of those try savers, we seem to defend better on our line with 12 men than we have all year with 13 men. Some of those try-saving tackles and stuff, like the third man in, which essentially become the second man in your halves, in most situations, was covering the winger who was going to score the try. Like, with your up and slide defense, your basic rule is that your fullback's going to should cover it, which I do have criticisms of Guffo of. But your third in needs to drop back and cover that hole as well. And we seem to be doing that perfectly when we're actually down a player. So that was one obviously positive of it. The frustrations of the game, we'll go into them a bit more detail after it. But I'll go to you, Matt, because you were the one person watching it at home on Thursday night. What was your thoughts on the game and obviously the frustrating moments?
Yeah, it was... Frustrating moments was burning the challenge. I felt like we could have probably used it later on with the rake out. I think he was just making a tackle. But just hearing how much how one-sided the commentary was towards the Roosters, it's starting to get frustrating watching these games. It's like everyone's written us off after the grand final last year. But just some of the things you saw on the TV, which I know we'll get to, it's just stupid penalties that shouldn't have been penalties. There was the sin bin, Will sin bin. I don't know what that was because he didn't get back to 10, but that's not a professional foul because it was the supporting player that ran into him. He didn't make the tackle. So, but yet, Luke Keary can pull down one of our players and stay on the field. But yeah, it's just frustrating to watch at the moment at home, especially with the commentary team the way they are. Doesn't make it any better. And then when there is a situation where we go upstairs for something, they don't show the correct angle until after it's been awarded or the one before. So if it goes up to video ref, they never show the angle of the ball going forward or whatever. They always show it later on when it's already done and dusted, which is starting to be frustrating as well.
Yep, I'll go to you, Michael, next because you were there as well. You probably had 1,000 drinks, but your thoughts?
Yeah, I did. I had 1,000 drinks, so I don't really have many thoughts that I remember. Yeah, the Panasini penalty, sin bin was... Well, fair enough, it's a penalty. Didn't get back 10, but 5 minutes into the game, in a non-try scoring position, because they were over 10 metres out and there was at least 6 Parramatta players there, and he didn't make the tackle anyway, and the Roosters player was coming behind that support player as well. Like, to make that a sin bin, I thought was pretty harsh. There was another one late in the game with, I think it was Hargraves, where it got ruled a rake. I thought that was really stiff considering I've seen plenty go the other way. Like there was no definite one of these. There was a play the ball call. Like, and I hate going on about refs because I just think there's bad calls every game. Good teams get over it. But I guess there were a couple of big calls this week. There was one where we got pinged. I think it's the one we lost our challenge on where he played the ball and he placed the ball before he stood up or something. Is that
was
right,
the
Adam?
answer.
No.
I'll go into that
No,
more. I was going to go into it later, but in round one, we obviously saw that happen where Hodgson was ruled to go back through the ruck. And Annesley come out during that week and said, we've got it wrong. We've done a lot of work on this in the off-season with our referees, blah, 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 making sure we get it right. So the frustrating thing for that was they said they'd done a lot of work on it and they got it round one. Here we are, what are we up to, round 5?
5.
And
6.
Yeah, no, last week was round 5, yeah. And they've got it wrong again because although, yes, we did make contact with our foot with the ball, the player once again placed the ball on the ground before, going through and obviously making contact with the ball. So it shouldn't matter what happened after that. They should have lost their challenge. It should have been our ball because it was an incorrect play of the ball. And I don't want to go more into it because I was going to go into it more after, but the frustrating thing was they scored off that try, off that decision as well. I think that was their third try. So anyway, continue.
I think, overall, the game, I thought it was probably the best defence I've seen from us in a while. Like, there was one stage there, I think we had 5 sets in a row on our line before we finally caved. And I don't think there's many teams that could defend the Roosters 5 sets in a row at the moment. So I thought that was pretty good. And to stay in the game and crawl back, like I know there was a point where we were like, we're not going to win this game. But to get it back just to an 8-point buffer so that the difference was literally just the 2 tries they scored when we had 2 in the sin bin, I thought that was good from us as well.
Troy, you're obviously there at the game. You probably missed half of the game because of my 2-year-old child. But how was your first of all, how was your experience with Lucas there? Secondly, how was your experience having to sit next to me for a game and hear me break down everything as the game goes?
Well, okay, to your first point there, it was quite entertaining actually having Lucas there, and the people in front didn't mind him slapping him on the back and
tickling and
tickling and I'm not too sure if he found the rooster at the end of the game, but
we definitely
he was looking for the rooster and sitting there watching the game with you. Well, yeah, it's probably the same as probably sitting here and listening to you talk about the game of league actually, but just in a live version. But look, you guys have covered it a lot there. Definitely the Will Penasini sin bin should have just been a penalty. And to have 2 players in the first half out of your side and only defending with 12 men, I thought the Eels did pretty good there. We saw Clint Gutherson pull off another try-saving tackle. Unbelievable defence there. I thought Micka Sevo was a bit rough in defence, coming in a lot off the wing there. I think there was 1, possibly 2 tries that cost us from him coming in. There was one he couldn't do anything about it with the Suwali flick pass, I think it was. But look, I think our we're starting too slow in terms of obviously scoring points and not leading from the front. So we're generally coming from behind and trying to get the victory. And as Micka said, it was probably pretty pleasing that at 26-8 down to get those 2 late tries to come back to 28-20 was pleasing, because a few years ago we would just put the cue in the rack and just thought, okay, well, we've lost this game and we're not going to do that. But to show that to come back and score those tries and try and win the game, even though we ran out of time, that was pleasing. I actually didn't think that the Bailey Simonson tackle was that bad in terms of a high contact shot. I thought that he hit the shoulder as direct contact.
Mate, you just have to tackle Tedesco when he passes the ball and it's high. Slide still.
All right, I know.
Here's Adam. No, let Adam rant.
let's get into that moment because
Tedesco.
Troy heard it live. I tried not to say too much to the idiot behind us because I obviously had a 2-year-old with me, but he wanted to get lippy. So I turned to him and said, "How's your $1 million a year fullback not got the ability to pass the ball and stay on his feet? He's been doing it for 6 years. The whole Tedesco thing caused that magic round, whatever it was, sin bin send off. The high shot." That was against us. That's because he fell into a tackle. That was Murata, wasn't it? I believe.
Yep.
That's what started it. How many times have we seen him go off for a concussion because he's on his knees when he passes the ball? That's part one. Part two is, I thought the first contact was around the chest. The whiplash from a good shot knocked his head back, which then people saying hit his own shoulder into his head. I believe he actually hit his head into Bailey's shoulder.
If you saw when he passed the ball, he kind of done like that, and Bailey contacted him, and he kind of like hit himself.
Like he got hit in the chest, and then his head just went smash into Bailey's shoulder.
Yeah. It was a good shot. I thought it was a good shot. Like the Roosters fans are saying send off. They're always going to when you're protecting, obviously, your marquee player. But I read through the comments from most NRL fans, besides your few Parra haters on there that you're going to get, a few people like I'm saying. The majority of people were on there saying that there was nothing wrong with the shot. So look,
I found that too.
Did he take 2 weeks? Is that what he ended up getting?
Yeah.
It's not disappointing. It is disappointing because it sets a bad precedence. But I thought Bailey needed a rest anyway, to be honest. So it's kind of a blessing to bring these other boys in. We'll get to that later. But what I want to touch on is the fact that 4 of their tries, and like I said, we don't like to go too much on referees, but 4 of the Roosters' tries were on the back of referees' decisions. The sin bin was one. Obviously, well to hold him out for pretty much 9 minutes, that 10. The second sin bin, obviously to Bailey, was the other one. They then, off the incorrect challenge, where it should have been done for him not getting his feet, they scored their 3rd try to make it 18. Then the second half, they got, I believe it was 4-6 agains. We hit the ball down twice. The second time we hit the ball down, the ball was passed forward into Sivo's hand anyway. So you're looking at 5 repeat sets that, I'm not saying they weren't fair dinkum, but like
if you watch that second half in those repeat sets, how many times did Tupu play the ball sideways? The whole night, he just played the ball sideways. There was a point where Mitch was yelling at the ref, pointing, saying he's facing sideways, and they just let him get away with it.
Yeah, so the only thing is, they scored 4 tries off those decisions. The 5th try where Tupou went straight through to me was just fatigue from how well we had to defend. Because we had to defend our line a lot, so it's going to happen. That was the most frustrating thing for me. I just felt like we didn't get a chance to win the game. We were never in a position to win the game because of some of those calls. But I'm happy with the way we stuck in, and like I said, obviously went on with it at the end to make the score a lot closer than what it was going to be. So,
and Matty, just getting back to your point about the commentary, just like to thank the Allianz Stadium. Replay screen, because every time there was a replay of a crucial moment or whatever, a replay of a forward pass, play the ball wrong, whatever, they go for advertising for the Roosters, and the whole crowd would miss it. So at least you saw the
they need the money for advertising anyway. Really, like Uncle Nick's got that sorted anyway. But I still want to know what happened to Bailey to come off for his HIA, because there was obviously some kind of contact to the head. I still haven't seen it, but you think he's taken out Tedesco. I know that Hargraves was involved in the tackle, so surely something's happened there. Yeah. But anyway, that's footy. I want to go through some of the performances because obviously, look, one of the biggest ones I called out, obviously I've called him out for about 4 weeks now, is Greg being a cat. I'm not afraid to say that. But I was actually pretty impressed with his opening stint. Obviously, he didn't play the minutes that Junior did. He played 33 minutes, 11 runs, 94. Hasn't quite put him over that magic number of 8 meters per run. But look, he actually ran with a bit of aggression.
Mate, some of the hits he put on too. He put a few good
100%.
hits on.
Well, he made 18 tackles in his 33 minutes. So once again, that's pretty solid. The disappointing thing for me was we kind of needed Campbell Gillard to step up. We knew that. And his numbers were well down. He got 12 runs, 111 metres, 68 minutes. So 30 tackles. I thought Madison was quite solid again. And once again, Penasini. But if you want to go around, and good night.
No.
Hey, go Parra.
Is that Caleb?
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll go around. Troy, you go first. Give us your first of all. If you want to give a moment of the match, which was, I think it's pretty obvious to me. I'll say it was probably the Will Penasini pass back on the inside of Gutho. I thought it was a superb pass. It was right in front of us as well. But give us your moment of the match and obviously player of the match.
Oh, well, yeah, I'll just go the Will Penasini pass. It was pretty classy. And we've seen that probably from Will all season so far. He's really stepped up his game this year in both defence and running and attacking as well. So credit to Will, even though he didn't deserved to be on the field for an extra 10 minutes. But anyway, look, I thought Mitchell tried really hard all night. I think, though, sometimes they try that short side play too many times. And it's a bit predictable as to when they're going to do that, especially when Gutho comes up into the line. It's just going to go that side. But I thought he really tried hard all night. So I'll give it to Mitchell for Thursday night.
Yeah, Michael, besides your bus trip down, what was your moment of the game?
Yeah. I actually thought that pass to Gutho on the try he scored from Penasini was pretty good too. It's almost like it was a play for it. It's like they knew he knew Gutho was going to be there, and Gutho was pushing up, knowing that the defenders were already going to drop off on the inside. It just looked really set. So that was pretty good, and I agree. I thought Moses had a pretty good game, and not many people were talking about it. Penasini's game, other than the 10 minutes he wasn't on the field, I thought he had another really good game. Yeah.
Maybe that was Will's pass back to. So was it Will? It was Will who scored. No, he did it last year against Penrith as well. The short pass to Gutho as well.
Yeah.
It wasn't spectacular then, though.
Yeah.
No, but they both know each other.
But obviously, yeah, it must be a set play they've been working on. But yeah,
because you see before when he going into that pass, like I don't know, when you watch it back, it's like he knew he was going to be there and he knew he was going to pass it.
Yeah,
it was pre-thought, I thought, but
Gutho never follows through. He never support plays unless he knows. So.
Unless he knows there's glory there for him.
Yeah,
Matt, you're
I'm gonna go something different. I'm gonna go the Mitch try-saving tackle on Tupu in the first half. It showed the mindset. The boys were there for obviously they've been working on their defense after the last couple rounds being 1-4. So I really think that. Yeah, it's promising signs, but yeah, I'm just gonna say Mitch because he was everywhere. But the most frustrating thing for me with that performance and even the Manly game shows how easy we can score points at will. But I don't know, we just don't do it throughout the game. I don't know. I know Roosters probably clocked off a bit, but still, just some of the plays they did was just simple plays. And it came off, but we never see it at the start, kind of thing.
Yeah, for sure. I'm going to give my moment because it wasn't the other I mentioned. I thought Troy would say that one because I know I was pretty impressed with it. But one was actually the Gutho try saver. Kind of set the standard for how well we were going to defend our line in that first, 20 minutes when we really needed to. Obviously, a couple of tries they scored there, but obviously with sin bins. But that was my moment. My player, once again, I'll probably say it was Gutho. His effort areas were there once again. I think he came out to prove a bit of a point this week. Obviously, there's been a lot of talk in the media, a lot of bullshit going around. I feel like he just kind of popped up and tried to do what he can do. X Factor. That was last week's word. But, yeah, I'm going to go to the disappointments now. And I know I've said it every week, but I think this week I probably watched a bit more footy across the weekend than I have been lately. And I noticed every other team do it. I know Johnson do it. I know I said it to you, Troy, how a kick can change a game And I don't get why we're still waiting to fifth tackle so many times, kick the ball. There was an example in the first half where we were set for the kick and we decided to go short side. And I think Wonga ran out of trouble and I know something happened. He passed on the ball, he knocked on. It was a classic Wonga error. It's obviously found him in reserve grade now, but it's just frustrating. We've seen it happen. Obviously, it was against Manly where he put that long kick in that could have been a 40-20 that went close. So one time we've done it all year. So every other team after point seems to kick for 4 and kick for a corner. We just don't seem to be doing it. That's point one.
We used to.
We used to
play.
Yeah, but
tackle
also
4 after points.
Reid used to do it as well, and that's the thing. I've seen Hodgson try to do it a couple of times and not be as successful. The other thing for me is, and this is one of the concerns I had with Josh Hodgson coming to the club, the reason I used to not like him at Canberra, and I'll say those other players like it, Michael Ennis as well, was I didn't think they let the halves play the more confident they got. They tried to work too much in the forwards. I noticed that started to happen on Thursday night, which is a worrying sign. And it's a worrying sign going into a weaker game this week as well against a weaker opposition. God, I hope that doesn't come back to bite me. But they are a weaker team. They've been absolutely shithouse. If it works this weekend and Hodgson starts to get out from dummy half and run those little plays, and like we said, those short side plays stuff, which he's calling, I'm worried that we'll continue to do that against the top teams and they're just not going to work. He hasn't got that mobility and the speed to get out from dummy half anymore. And it's just two of the little frustrations I found in the game. So before we move on to this week's game, obviously the Easter Monday game, I want to talk about the hip drop and get everyone's thoughts on the hip drop because it's good to see the NRL first of all introduce something, not when it's at Magic Round, because, you know, it would have been pretty exciting to go to Magic Round again this year and get up and excited every time there was a sin. I'm a little bit disappointed. But I've seen it back now. Michael sent it to me, but the hip drops in the Cronulla Warriors game. And we've seen blokes get suspended for 3 to 4 weeks. It's only a matter of time before we lose a player to this now. So, Michael, your thought obviously on the Murata one. He had a pretty big opinion on it.
Not even close to a hip drop. Like, there's a difference between being the third man in or even the second man in. But most classic hip drops, you see a third man in coming in from behind, grabbing them and dropping down and trying to pull them back. Like, he ran at Murata off a scrum who hit him and bounced off sideways. And then as old mate's pulling through the line, his natural body took him to behind him as he fell on his leg. Like, it shouldn't have even been a penalty. And now he's suspended for 2 weeks. And then Adam at the time was saying that I think of the Finucane one, he was like, I can't believe he's in the bin for that. And I said back to Adam, I said, he's got to be because of what he did to Murata in the first half. And that's when I sent out the clip because he hadn't seen it. Like, so Finucane's probably looked a bit worse than Murata's. I reckon Murata's looked like he was the least out of accidental. Yeah, and then there was who was the third one?
The Ockenburn one was actually bad.
Yes, I thought it was
a hip drop.
Yeah, it was for sure, and he knew it too. As soon as he dropped, you saw him go, fuck. Like,
we're allowed to swear. We're allowed to swear. We swear. Yeah.
So, we just put the rating R+.
Yeah. So I couldn't believe that. And I know the NRL does that sort of stuff where they bring in something and they go hard on it. And then they seem to be able to find the balance. But I just thought, I don't know, it's going to leave so much open if a player's pulling through a line and you happen to fall on his legs. Like, I don't know.
The me for the Finucane one was, and he said it himself to the referee, it was torrential conditions at the time as well. Like, if you go up and tackle a bloke and you're going to slide off him, where are you going to slide?
Yeah.
Like, they've tried to go away. They've contradicted themselves because with the whole crackdown a couple of years ago, they didn't want contact above here. So they've tried to go away from contact above here. So where can you aim? You've got to go obviously below the legs. Now, players are going below the legs. As a kid, you get taught to tackle legs. What are you meant to do when 100 kilo, Kiwi centre's running at you? Like, and he's run past you. You're going to grab his back and you're going to slide down naturally. I don't know. For me, it's accidents happen in a game. It's a contact sport. And I just got a funny feeling that one of them's going to go against us this weekend. And it can change games.
Yeah. Look, I'm not an expert. I haven't played NRL. I've only played juniors, and the hip drop tackle wasn't around in junior footy. But so I thought both the Finucane and the Murata tackles were just tackles, and it's all happening so fast. And as you said, Adam, what are you taught in junior footy? You're supposed to, hit around the hips and slide down. But when you do have, 100-kilo blokes running and they look like they're going to break the tackle, and you got to do everything you can to try and get them down. And I think you're right, Micka. I think there's going to be injuries and there's going to be accidents. That's just the nature of the game. I mean, it's the most brutal contact sport in the world. And so these things are going to happen. I mean, obviously, the third man in, where we saw last year in New South Wales Cup with Liam Knight getting his ACL done, and stuff like that, no good, obviously. But when there's two people in a tackle and someone's struggling to get out of that tackle and you're trying to do everything you need to do, well, you have to do it. I mean, if you're a player and a player's going to break the tackle and you let go because you're scared of getting charged with a hip drop tackle, what's your coach going to say? Mate, what'd you let him go for? What'd you let him go for? I think
it's just restricting the area where we can tackle as well, because you can't cannonball, you can't hit him above the chest. It's getting. I know AFL have rules. AFL have rules where it's chest to knee. You can't tackle below that, and that's the point it's getting to. But the classic hip drops, they're coming in around obviously the hip back, arse kind of area. I just think you can't eliminate everything of the game. We'll be playing with tags eventually. Matt,
what made that worse too was the ref at the end of the set of 6 went back to the Murata one because of a bunker call.
Yeah.
And no one knew what was going on at the time. The commentators were like, what are we talking about? And the ref went, it was earlier in the set. So they went back past play the balls to put a bloke on report and put him in the bin and then give them the penalty, which I didn't think could happen.
It could happen for a while. They were doing it when they first brought in the crackdown.
They were, but they stopped it. And I haven't really seen much said about it. So I know there was a couple of passes in that. So I don't know if it went – I'm sure it was back past that play the ball on that play, though, because the ref actually said, no, it was earlier in the set, which I didn't think they could do anymore. So I'm surprised there hasn't been more said about that.
I think after the first play the ball for the opposition set, they can go back. After it's they can't go back. Because there's been a couple of instances where they've gone back and they've put players on report and sim bin. They haven't actually gone back for the penalty. So
well, that's right. They can sort of go, oh, mate, 3 tackles ago, you're on report. But they don't go back and penalise for it.
Yeah.
Or sin bin. So it was odd. It was really odd.
Some odd decisions in the game. Matt,
I think you've covered it. I think.
Yep. It's just, like I said, I don't like these crackdowns.
Don't forget, that's how Hayes was injured last year. That's how Hayes sat out the whole year because of a hip drop. So
it's just like a why now thing. Why are we doing this in round 5? Why 3 years ago, whenever it was, did we do it? Sorry, 3 years ago, did we do it at Magic Round?
Because it's Tedesco.
Hey,
because it's Tedesco.
Yeah,
but 100%. On that too, before we move on from last week, why hasn't anyone ever pointed the finger at Robinson and gone, how after all these years have you not coached Tedesco to not fall when he passes it?
Yeah.
That's just bad coaching. That's bad coaching. Mate, stay up when you play the ball, for Christ's sake. Yeah. And B, I saw a thing on there was an article the day after, or a quote and a picture on Fox Facebook or something. And Robbo, whether he said in the press conference or the next day, he said, I knew 10 minutes into that game that we wouldn't have Tedesco for 2 weeks. The tackle wasn't until the 23rd minute. So Trent Robinson can now see into the future.
But he even said at first in the press conference and that, he even said at first he thought it was a send-off and contact with the head. But after he watched a couple replays, he was on the fence about it. So even he knows that there wasn't contact.
To answer your first question, he must have seen Tedesco falling over a couple of times when he passed the ball in the first 10 minutes and predicted it.
Yeah, maybe.
But just right. Just one other disappointment from Thursday
Mate,
night. That's right.
I've still got a list.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll get to you in a second, but just one more disappointment was at full time, a Parra fan was struck by a flying object at Allianz Stadium and injured them. Not massively, but still injured them, and the people haven't been caught yet. But it was pretty disappointing to see that something
What,
like
was
that
a drink
happen.
or something?
Yeah, it was like 6 to 12 empty beer cups, but it was the bottom of the cups that struck her and soft tissue injury. But yeah, so very disappointing from the crowd at Allianz Stadium. I don't know whether it was a Parra fan or a Roosters fan or just a idiot. But well, I mean, yeah, we can't have these things going on at games, obviously, because I mean, you know, Adam, if you were there with Luca at full time and that was thrown any higher and struck Luca in the head, I mean,
Lucas.
it'd be Lucas.
Yeah.
Lucas.
Yeah, I forgot the S. Sorry.
I wanted Luca. I lost that battle. So
yeah, if it struck Lucas in the head, I mean, obviously, yeah, everyone would be furious. So
I would have had a bus
we can't have, and that's what.
Yeah.
That's what's
I was gonna say they would not make it out of there alive.
and that's what's turning people away from going to rugby league games is these sort of incidents. So
it's funny, well, not funny you mentioned it though, but I think that every time I go to Parramatta and they sell cans still, and the amount of like, remember how the NRL went away from canned beers for so long? Now you can walk down your chairs with a canned drink. It's just. It's waiting for it'll happen again one day. I can guarantee it'll happen again one day. There'll be some kind of projectiles thrown on the ground. So, Matt, you got anything else on your list that we've missed off? Or?
Hodgson's minutes. I think he played 10 minutes too much in that first half.
Again, he needs to come off 10 minutes before
30
half
minutes.
time.
30
Well, you
minutes.
saw it.
Everyone does.
It was 8-2, and then the last 10 minutes, all of a sudden, it was 16-2.
Someone just wants to get their bold prediction right.
That was me. That was
and not taking the 2 when the coach said take the 2, and then Matto done the forced offload, which
was that 16-8?
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually thought we could have taken the 2 then as well.
Yeah,
because we'd weathered the fair bit of the storm.
Yeah, the bench, and we had the roll on. We had all that momentum. If they took the 2, made it a 6-point game, and then we saw what happened after that. They went down and scored from it. So if we took the 2 then and listened to BA, because they were all calling for the 2 and the players overruled it. So, and then Matto just was the third tackle, the offload out the back. So it even burnt our challenge. No, I think we covered it all. Just my anger.
Paper there.
Yeah, like Sivo.
It's more at the commentators, isn't it?
It was like Sivo's first game again. Like,
yeah, let's get
how
to
to play football.
The evolution of Sivo last year. Like, I think a lot of us thought it. We didn't think Sivo would actually break his way back in the team last year. And when he come back, I thought, all right, let's see how he goes. And he impressed me all year. He evolved his game. He come back lighter, leaner, but somehow seemed to be stronger and would actually ran the ball. Like, I remember how excited we were last year when he finally made a line break and actually put his foot down. But to me this year, it seems like Sivo thinks that he's had to continue to evolve his game, and now he's making stupid choices. Like, he shouldn't be kicking the ball. I know sometimes, look, Blake set him up a couple of times. I think that's why Blake's actually found himself dropped this week.
He runs out of room.
He runs him out of room and he passes the ball. You're right, he double pumps the ball as well. You've either got to give the ball or go yourself. There was one in the first half where they tackled Sivo over the sideline. Blake pumped the ball to the left and then actually gave it to him. When he pumped the ball to the left, every single player had gone to Sivo already. The only player that he would have had to run over was Sam Walker, whose shoulder was already turned in to go to Sivo. So, look, I can blame Sivo a lot. He has been frustrating. I think he needs to put a bit more effort in. I think he's probably pretty lucky that he hasn't found himself on the chopping block, but he can't be too far away with the stupid choices he's making. And just don't kick the frigging ball. Just run over the top of people, especially Tedesco. If he runs over the top of Tedesco, because he's going to have flashbacks.
He's
Like,
done
darkest
it
my
once.
friend.
He's
Yeah,
already done
it was like Kiri coming across when Mitch threw the cut when they threw that cutout ball to him. It was like Luke Kiri in front of him and he kicked it. Like Sawali hadn't even got across there yet. He just had to
Kiri
run
isn't
over.
going to want to put his head in front of Sivo either, let's be honest.
Yeah, exactly. So it was like his first game at NRL again. He forgot what he was doing there. So that was the most frustrating thing to watch. Even like the Sawali, like the Tupu break down the sideline. Sivo's on the other side of the thing, just walking back, jogging across there. He wasn't. Yeah,
that was on his side. And he should be one of the freshest men out there. He'd been in the bin for 10 minutes. He played less minutes than the other winger, and he just kind of jogged next to him. So, and he'd been off for HIA and just come back as well. So
yeah,
he should have been.
And he was just jogging next to him. He didn't even try and attack him from behind or something.
Yeah, and then they all went for the same player. Anyway, let's get on to this week's game.
Matty, I can see your frustration about not a team bus as well. That's a I mean, that can be a good thing to get that connection and camaraderie of being on a team bus going to a game. But apparently the reason is because everyone lives in so many different locations.
I reckon that's a cop out.
Sometimes it'd be silly to go to Kellyville to go to the city when people live like Northern Beaches or near the city or like.
I see that point, but that's also a choice. Like if the club puts in order that we've got to get team bus to every game, you meet at Kellyville, blah blah blah. They've made that choice. Like Gutho could easily afford to buy a house in Kellyville if he's living at the Northern Beaches, for example. So
even if he doesn't and he wants to live at the Northern Beaches, that's fine. Make the extra effort.
Well, I'm sure he could afford
leave home half an hour early, go there and
backtracking.
Get a crash in one of the boys' spare rooms or something. I don't know.
So what about Mitch? He lives at Drummoyne, I think.
Yeah. Well, actually,
he's actually building it. Mitch is actually building a massive house, and it's a dual occupancy. So Guffo has a place to stay, mate. No excuse.
So that's two players. What about the other 15?
I'm actually
do a Brian Smith and put him in a hotel.
I'm impressed with Gutho because not many people from the Northern Beaches actually know how to drive across the Sydney Harbour Bridge to get to Sydney. So he's done pretty well. He might have got the ferry. Maybe. Can we confirm that, Matt? Can you ask Gutho?
I'll ask him.
Ask Gutho.
He probably drove his new car.
What are you trying to say?
He might live near that bloke I gave a serve at the footy the other night that was actually a Parramatta fan.
I don't remember it.
And the other
you
thing,
weren't sitting with us.
The other thing too, was the smart Roosters fans when I was walking up to the entertainment quarter getting something to eat for dinner. Bailey Simonson's walking past with his headphones on, and then there's a group of Roosters supporters behind him, and they point at me going, oh, that's Bailey Simon. That's one of your players. It's like, as if I didn't know that. Come on, guys.
Yeah.
They're probably not used to seeing their players walking the street.
I gave a bloke a serve in front of us because when someone was trying to get the Parra chant going, he's like, what are they doing? What are they doing? And I said, oh, mate, that's what happens when you travel to away games. Like, you still try and get your team's chant going. You wouldn't know because Roosters fans don't can travel anywhere. And it turns out he's a Parra supporter, and later on he was cheering. I said, hang on a minute. I said, don't you go for the Roosters? And he had like a full dress shirt and everything on, and all his mates were Roosters fans, and he goes, no, I just dressed like one.
I just dressed like a knob.
It's pretty funny.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to this week's game. There's so much more we could talk about from Thursday night, but we're not going to. We're going to leave it there. Well, obviously, the Rooster was fascinating. There was obviously some other fascinating things in front of us as well, Troy's, with the return of cheerleaders at football matches. But let's get on
very happy.
Lucas loved it. What can I say? Let's get on to this week's game. Easter Monday, traditional Easter Monday game. How many years has this been going on for now? We're probably looking at about 11, 12 years.
Yeah. Ages.
My first one I remember going to was 2014, I think.
Paddy Richards played in one. I remember that. So that was...
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's obviously been a big thing for a while. Obviously, both used to be there at Stadium Australia, now Core Stadium, but now it takes year on, year off. But usually a bumper crowd. I know they got kids go free tickets and stuff like that. So hopefully, even though it's 17th versus 15th, which seems weird to say, there still will be. It seems weird to say for us. There still will be a bumper crowd. Obviously, last year we played the Tigers when they were 0-4 or 0-5 last year when we played them.
0-4.
5.
They're 0-5.
Yeah.
They're 5 again. They're
They're in
0-5
the
again.
Same spot as they are now.
Yeah, well, natural habitat. Here's the Tigers in their natural habitat.
Yeah, but we were 4-1, so we're in a different. We're in a different spot now too.
Yeah, I think last year we took them a bit for granted. We kind of expected us to turn up and play and win. Sorry, we didn't actually turn up to play football, and they took us. They're obviously pretty desperate. I can't see it happening this week. I think this is kind of the game. Look, I made the call the other day. I think we win our next 6 games. That's not a bold prediction. That's just me predicting what I think will happen in the next 6 weeks. But I think it obviously starts now. And I'll give you a prediction now. And it's not, once again, it's not a bold prediction. But I think Gus Gould is going to be calling Michael on Monday night because I think we actually put 50 on him. So there's been nothing wrong with our attack. Our attack's been fine. It's been clunky at times. Obviously, there's some changes. I'll go through changes in a second, but the change coming into the team and obviously a much stronger team there, I think that, we actually can put them the sword and go on with it. So it should be a pretty dominant Parramatta crowd. Our fans are still turning up. We saw that on Thursday night, even though we were like 1-3. There was a lot of Parramatta supporters there on Thursday night at a Roosters home game. Someone has to fill their seats for them in their new stadium. But yeah.
Pretty nice stadium.
It was nice. But
Slightly
I like CommBank more, and I'm not being biased, but I feel like the atmosphere is better at CommBank because of the roof. The roof at Allianz with the curved roof.
Yeah.
The noise, and obviously there was 20,000 empty seats as well. And that's obviously the problem.
CommBank's usually louder. I'll give you that.
Well, CommBank's louder because of the flat roof and because of the corporate side, how it's kind of flat. It all echoes. It's got that amphitheatre feel. So, but anyway, they have good enough game.
Adam, you could be right there with those next 6 games, actually, because Tigers, Bulldogs...
Don't tell him that. I told him he was an idiot. Just tell him he's an idiot.
Broncos, Knights, Titans, Raiders. So
yeah, 100%. The hardest game is Brisbane up in Darwin, but it's in Darwin.
Yeah.
Can't wait for that game. I get excited for the Darwin game every year just because I like to see how much water BA drinks. I'm gonna match it with him this year. I'm gonna drink as much water as BA does that night. So whatever.
We should live stream.
I think for the bold predictions that week, we should all guess how many bottles of water in front of Brad.
I'll drink beers for his water, and we'll see how drunk I get.
You'll be plastered. I'm going to be peeing all night drinking that much water. But I'll go through the lineup quickly because there is some changes. Before I do go through the lineup, I want to say a massive congratulations to BA for finally getting a spine. It's taken a while, but he finally has got one. He's finally dropped a player, not because of injury or suspension. It's been a long time. I think the last player he probably did it to was Chris Sandow. Has there been a player since then that's been dropped? He drops players when he wants to show them the door, e.g. Nathan Brown, Tim Mena, Fui Moi Moi. But the fans have been calling for this, and I know you picked up on it, Matt, as well. You can see the players, the senior player group, are getting frustrated at Wonga. You can see Gutho getting frustrated with him, not just in the training pitches, but also on the games with things breaking down back on and stuff. So he has done it. We'll go more to that after I go through the team. So the team is Gutherson at the back. Hayes Dunster returns on the wing with Sivo on the other wing. Penasini and Russell, not out for the season apparently, in the centres. Brown and Moses in the halves. Matheson at lock, which I find interesting. Cartwright, Lane, Greg, Hodson, Campbell, Gillard. Bench of Hopgood, Hands, Murchie, Makatoa. 18th man, as usual, is Jacob Arthur. Dury, 19th man, which I'm very interested in. Ogden and Rodwell, a chance to make his debut. And then Wonga Blake in the 22. So that'll be Rodwell's 6th debut. So anyway, your thoughts on that team first of all, Matt?
I reckon it's a strong team. I probably would have had Russell maybe on the wing and Hayes centre, but I think maybe that's the way they might line up. Watching some of the preseason training videos and stuff, Hayes was training some days there at centre. I'm surprised. I don't know. Arcee didn't come up to centre as well. That could have been another option. But yeah, I don't know. I think Hopgood starts and Maddo goes back to the bench, to be honest. I don't know whether Hopgood with the HIAs and all that stuff, and maybe he's got a little niggling injury, or it's basically maybe just to come on for Widemu or RCG. In that
Just
back
message
half
him,
of the
mate.
first
You're good
half.
buddies with him.
Yeah, but mate, I literally could throw a rock from my front lawn and hit his front lawn. So
Get him
I
on the
don't know.
podcast one night.
I'll ask him.
Can we test that?
What? Yeah,
Have you got a rock? Just don't break his window.
I'll go live when I'm driving his new car home.
All right, Troy, your thoughts?
Yeah, look, I think this is probably one of the strongest sides that Parramatta could put out this season. Obviously, Junior Paolo's missing, but look, I think Bryce Cartwright maybe could have went to the bench, although he has been playing pretty reasonable football. Nothing outstanding, but pretty reasonable. Matt Dury's probably one player that's probably unlucky to miss out. I think he's been playing some really good footy.
Yeah.
So obviously it was probably a toss-up between him and Murchie who would get that bench spot. So they're obviously clashing together to get that bench spot. There's been a call for Hands to start the game. I think maybe Hodgson, this is his chance just to start and see how he goes. Although, as you said, Matty, he should get less minutes in the first half. And I agree, he should have been brought on earlier in that first half. So late in the first half, and then come back on middle of the second half, perhaps. But maybe you might see Hands start next week, depending on how Hodgson goes. But no, look, I think it's a pretty strong side. As I said, the strongest side that we could possibly post without Junior Paolo, and good to see Sean Lane back for his first competition game. He was obviously injured in that Newcastle game, so his first competition game. So that's good to see him back.
Yep, Michael. He's probably the one bloke I know that's been calling for a Russell Dunster combination for quite a while. And
Yeah, he has been.
I have vocally.
Well, you haven't been on the podcast here because BA listens to this podcast, so he didn't hear it here.
I think moving forward that is our back line, and that is our strongest back line at the club indefinitely. I think Dunster, all this talk about a strike X factor player, I think Dunster I think he should be at centre. He reminds me very much of Chris Naninu. And I think he's the key. If we get him at centre and Russell on the wing, I think that's our back line. Lock it in. As far as all the forward shuffling goes, like I don't know I hope we're not just thinking it's the Tigers, because the Tigers have got a pretty weak pack. Like I don't know if we're just taking it easy and resting Hopgood and Dory and whatever else. But I probably would have had Hopgood at lock, Madison and Lane at second row. Cartwright has been playing pretty decent, I guess, but he's still Cartwright. I don't know if he's ever going to ever get to the point we expected him to, where he used to cut us to ribbons when he was playing at Penrith. But Dory's probably hard done by. I'd probably have a bench of Hands, Dury, I don't know, maybe Murchie and whoever else. But I think, realistically, looking at the team as it is now on paper this week, if we don't put the Tigers to the sword the way they've been playing and the way that we've been playing, despite not winning, we're kidding ourselves. Like, this is easily the best back line and probably the best team we've had all year. And Sean Lane coming back should be huge for Dylan Brown as well. So,
yeah, that's the point I was about to make. The Dylan Brown one. I'll go to that. Even with Matt, I think Hopgood does start and Madison goes back to the bench. We saw
he always shuffles that. there's been heaps of times where BA does that whole shuffle the
Last
minute. Like,
he was doing it last year with Madison, with Murata, obviously.
yeah,
I think Madison on the bench has the ability to come on, play lock, has the ability to play second row, front row. If he's planning on playing Hopgood in the front row, I don't see why he hasn't got Madison there. And look, it goes back to me as well. What I said originally was Madison had to come back and prove a point. I think he's played well. Lane's obviously walked straight back in. I don't have a problem with Cartwright holding his spot as well, which I never thought I'd find myself saying. Honestly, I never thought I'd saying that. Next, I'll be asking for Greg to start and Paulo to go to the bench. But anyway.
Greg, you can have my last bench spot.
Hey, if Troy got his way,
Troy goes by, yeah, he wants one on the bench, yeah.
Junior will be on the bench and Greg will start.
Well, yeah, you know.
So that way RCG's not off at the same time.
Yeah.
They should never be off the field at the same time. Ever.
But hey, I'm not a first grade coach. I'm just a fan, not an expert.
Yeah. That's pretty much it all I've got based on the game. I obviously think the way we win the game is we score more points than them. And yeah. Anyone want to have a say? Anything else to add?
See, they've shuffled their lineup again this week.
Yeah, I think
they've got Staines at fullback and they've got Dewey back at 5'8".
Yeah.
I can't remember who their wingers and that were, but yeah, I mean, it shouldn't matter. Like we're talking about an absolute basket case of a club, and the footy we have been playing. We should win and win easy, like if we're serious.
Is North Aluma playing?
No.
I don't remember seeing his name, no.
That's good, because he would have scored like 5 tries against us, like he always does.
Yeah. I'm sick of going to games like this where like
I
messaged Adam last week.
We're getting a special guest, guys.
So for the viewers and the listeners, we're just having a little interruption at the moment. Adam's mic is off because we've got a special guest, a tired-looking guest.
A tired-looking guest. It's his woke.
Does Lucas want to give his bold predictions? Does he want to give his bold predictions?
Yeah. Hopefully he's allowed to go to the game. Let's go through our bold predictions. And I'll start. Like I said, I'm going big, and I'm actually going extremely big. I'm actually going Parramatta 58-4.
Oh, love it.
I feel it's coming. Like, we have these games every now and then that can shape up our season. We used to do it. Look, we haven't started season poorly, but I remember years ago, we used to always seem to play someone like when they were shit, like South Sydney or the Cowboys. And they'd always turn around and we'd always play them and put 40 or 50 on them. They kind of shaped the rest of our season back in the day. So I'm going big. My first try scorer is Sean Lane on his return. And my bold prediction is, you're going to like this one, Troy.
Okay.
For both Dylan Brown, right, and Sean Russell to score doubles.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay.
I really feel that Brown's going to, obviously, with Lane back, he's going to have a good return. So, all right. Who wants to go next?
Troy.
Okay, yeah. Look, I've got a feeling that we're really going to put the points on this Easter Monday. I think we should really target Charlie Staines there back at the back. He's only a small fullback, and the wingers as well. They're pretty inexperienced as well. So I think our back line should probably overpower their ones. But I'll go something like 48-12 scoreline. And look, I was going to go Sean Lane first try scorer. So thank you very much, Adam, for that one. But that's the advantage of going first. So I'll go back to my old mate Will Penasini as first try scorer, and a bold prediction. Will be. I'm going to go really bold here. Campbell Gillard to get a double.
Ooh.
Yeah, really bold.
That'd be paying a bit on sports bet.
Maybe silly, but bold.
Bold. Well, he needs to step up. He needs to step up with that Paulo there. I didn't feel like he did enough of it last week. Michael, your predictions?
I'll be getting a call off Gus. So let's say 54-12. First try scorer, I'll go Dylan Brown. And bold prediction. Jesus.
Jesus to turn up. That is pretty bold.
The Parramatta Jesus.
I'll go both halves to get a double. Dylan Brown and Moses, both of them get a double.
I actually thought about that one, but it seemed unrealistic. But yeah, all right. It is bold.
Well,
It's better than what Heydan would have gone. Heydan would have gone, Sivo to score a try. All right, Matt, what do you got?
RCG to run 100 meters.
He hasn't even given us his predictions.
hasn't.
So, and happy
So that-
birthday to his mum.
Yeah. All right. So mine, I've got 44-6. I think their 6 is going to come from an Alex Twal try.
Oh, that's a bold
Saying-
prediction, that one.
That's not my bold prediction, but I also got Dylan Brown to score first. I think with Lane back, we're going to see Dylan as he was last year. Like we've been saying he hasn't made a line break and he hasn't been himself. But I think with Lane back, we're about to see him just kick off to a whole new level.
Because everyone will be expecting
he
Lane
came
to
out-
get those
he-
short balls.
yeah. He came out in the press and said he hasn't met his full potential yet and he's still got more to go. So I feel like this could be a breakout game for this year for Dylan. And my bold prediction is because it's the Tigers, the new contract's signed, sealed, and delivered, although the club hasn't
It's going to
announced
be
it.
announced.
No, I got Mitch to score 14 plus points. 14 or more points.
What's
from
that?
Mitch
What's that got to
Moses.
do with the contract?
No, I'm just saying. It's
Oh,
Tigers.
Right. Okay.
He's relaxed now. The contract's done. Everyone's heard it from his mouth. Even though the club's slow at, I don't know what they're waiting on for to announce it. We've got every other club announcing new signings that weren't even in the press.
Apparently, it's got to do with the NRL somehow.
Oh, they got to register. They got
Somehow.
to rubber stamp
So-
it or whatever it is.
It's something
Did
to
you
do
hear
with the
his-
NRL.
It's
Did you hear
probably
him on
coaching afterwards.
Did you hear him on Triple M the other day?
Yeah.
I thought he spoke well.
Yeah, he loves Parra. Wants to stay there. Wants to win a comp.
Yeah.
But Matty, I'd love to
Well,
see
I love
Alex.
Parra. I want him to stay there and want Parra to win a comp. So we have a couple of things in common, Mitchell, except you've got more chance of doing it than me for us. So.
He's got more money too, really.
Yeah,
He does.
But Matty, I'd love to see Alex Twal score the first try. That should have been your bold prediction, mate.
No. I'll never
So
do
the
a bold
Tigers
prediction involving the other team.
Yeah, but it's Alex Twal, mate.
It's Paramount
Ex-Parra.
Junior anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Tigers leading 6-0.
That's why we let him go, because he can't score.
Look at Blake Laurie. He's a try-scoring machine these days.
All right, that'll do. That's all we've got time for tonight. So obviously, hope to see a massive crowd there and hopefully another Parra win and get that roll going for one of my 6 in a row.
Thank you very much,
Yeah.
viewers. Thank you very much, listeners. You can catch this on M.Tatey Sports TV YouTube channel, the video, and you can also catch the podcast, the Talking Parra podcast, on Apple and Spotify. Please subscribe, share it with your friends, your Parra fans as well. And yeah, let's hope we see a lot of blue and gold out there at Accor Stadium on Easter Monday. As Adam said, kids get in free. So let's get 30,000 there. Go Parra.
Straight to the Easter show afterwards. Go Parra.
Go Parra.